Hello dear students, hope you are fine and doing great. So today we are going to learn about the tissues. Let us learn about the same. So first of all, going through towards the tissue, I would like to tell you that tissue came from the cell. Okay, tissue came from the cell. So cell is basically what? The structural and functional unit of living organism. Okay, functional unit of a living organism. And if it is a structural and functional unit, then this functional unit is further converted into the tissues. So tissue is basically the group of cells. Okay, group of cells. Group of cells, or you can say cluster of cells, the clumps of cells. And we are learning this topic in the concept of the animal. You know, our body from head to toe is made up of trillions of cells. We have optic cells in our eyes, by which I can see you. We have RBC cells in our blood, red blood cells. Okay, we have skin cells, we have cells in the liver, okay, cardiac cells, muscle cells. So all these tissue combined with the tissue, they form a layer. Okay, maybe inside, that is Ecto, Endo, or Meso in mid. Okay, so we have the three terms we can learn as well as here. Let me write here: Ectoderm. Okay, then in the middle, Mesoderm and the Endoderm. Here the derm means a layer. Okay, derm is derm. Let us say this is my derm. Derm is, we used to listen that advertisement instead of dermis powder. Okay, dermal powder. So dermis is a layer of a skin. Ecto means outside, meso means mid, and endo means inside. And the tissue which we are going to learn, the first category I am going to take is based upon the ectoderm today. Okay, so ectoderm is divided based upon the epi. Epi means upon. Okay, so animal tissue is basically categorized into this epithelial category in different forms. Okay, so what are these epithelial tissue? And let us say how they are connected with the different type of cells, that because it is playing a role in providing us protection, and how they provide a protection. How we are calling it as a tissue, right? Let us learn. So can you see this diagram? You can see here different type of muscle cells. Okay, we have you can see here the atoms, right? So let me indicate. Okay, we have here the atoms. So atom is basically the smallest entity. Okay, like we have a cells. And the atom, when we talk about the atom, now it's turned to molecule, but this is something, concept also, the hierarchy. Like we have in the cell to tissue, tissue to organ. Let me write it here. We know that the hierarchy, like we are having in the cells and the tissue, so the hierarchy we're already aware. We have the cell to tissue, okay, tissue to organ, organ to organ system, okay, and then the organism. Okay, so this is the hierarchy for the human body, for the animal tissue. But if we talk about the atoms, before the atom, we are just taking a review. We are having a particles, then atoms, and atoms to that we have a molecule. That's why the molecule is after the atom. So what is atom? It is just like a cell, the smallest entity. Everything is composed of atoms, smallest entity, okay? And then molecules. And molecules to your, like we have this organ system, then organism. Similarly, we have the elements, then the compounds, okay? So this is the hierarchy in compounds mixtures, and the further on we have the division based upon homo and hetero. Like the same pattern they have described over here. Okay. Now if you see this organism, okay, this organism, let me use my marker. This one, okay? So this organism is composed of all these 6 mentioned over here. This is composed of all this. Let us say whenever you used to eat any vegetable or any pulses, so that pulses is composed of your pulse, okay, and the grains you are adding, spices you are adding, okay, and salt you are adding. So this is a composition, right? Compact. Similarly, human body is compact of all these things. Let us say smooth muscle cell, molecule, kidney, ureter, urinary bladder. So this is something the part, but we need to understand, are human body composed of all type of cells, or the cells are divided based on this category, like ureter have different cells, different type of cells, okay, based upon the lower part of the body, or let us say the heart is having different type of cells, and the cells is having a layers that is we are learning in form of a tissue. There are so many questions come by looking at this diagram in our mind. So you can also see the diagram of epithelium. We have connective tissue, small muscles tissue, urinary bladder. So this question always comes in the mind. The first question is, let me write, are cells divided based upon body parts? Okay. So the first question arises, are cells divided based upon the body parts? Second question arises, if they divided based upon the body part, then what type of cells we are having? Okay, what type of cells? So you can see here the muscle cells, because this cell is formed from some cell, definitely it form a tissue, right? So we are dividing the smooth muscle cell. Okay, nucleus, every cell is having their own nucleus, that's why we can see nucleus, and every cell with the nucleus is surrounded by the membrane, that's why we have the plasma membrane. Everything is having a reason that why I have mentioned over here. The second thing, atom is forming the molecule is forming this particular structure of smooth muscle cell, and this molecule is composed of your base pairs. You can see here AT, that is GC. Okay, the stacking you can see here, this is a stacking. Okay, the stacking is something is very important to zigzag pattern, this helical structure, eventually forming this part. Okay, and then forming a tissue. So now you can understand from cells, molecule to atoms, and before that particles. You cannot count a cell particle. You cannot count a particle of a cent, S-A-N-D. But cell is something we are made up of trillions of cells. Okay, abundant amount of cells, and sometimes the division of a cell tends to the growth of organism, and that is making the tissues, right? This is very important to understand that this human, the child, you can see the infant is having different type of cells. Now let us learn about the same more in depth. Now cells and tissue. This point is very clear. Let me use the marker. Cell is structure and functional unit.